Okay, right. So, do you remember what topic were we discussing last class before our last session? Does anyone remember? Nobody remembers. Okay, so let me try to recap. So, in fact, we were discussing about expert systems. Expert system. What basically was an expert system? Does anyone remember? What basically one expert system was? We started with the foundation for expert system. What is an expert system? What is the architecture of expert system? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? So these are the topics which we had discussed. Okay, so expert system is basically, you can call it as a decision making system, a little more reliable and to some extent interactive decision making system, which will make use of your facts, heuristics, all these things to solve some complex problems in certain specific domains. Okay, then what were the components of your expert system? Your architectural components of your expert system. We had the user interface, then the inference engine, the knowledge base, what constitutes your knowledge base. All these things we had discussed. Okay, then we looked into the advantages of expert system, quick and fast response, but then it do have its own set of disadvantages. It cannot handle any dynamic situation. It cannot create or it cannot give any creative solutions, and it can be even costly to maintain. Okay, but then again, with all these advantages and disadvantages, whatever is being listed out here, whether to have an expert system or not is totally dependent on the purpose and the use of it. Okay, so this is where we stopped in the previous session, in our last session. Okay, so today we'll move on to the how to represent the knowledge. Okay, so the knowledge in an expert system, it can be represented in the form of rules. The most simplest is if then rules. Okay, so if you are hungry, then eat. Okay, so when generally when you say an expert system, okay, so we have what is called a knowledge engineer. Okay, so this knowledge engineer will take inputs from the human expert, or you can say the domain expert, in order to build what is called your knowledge base. Okay, so whatever I'm telling is depicted in the diagram out here. Okay, so that knowledge engineering, the topic called knowledge engineering or development of your expert system. Okay, so your knowledge engineer will be taking inputs from the domain expert in order to build the knowledge base. Okay, so but then in case the expert is not willing to cooperate or to give the proper information, then again things can become complex. Okay, so again the knowledge base that you're trying to build, so that needs to be refined to match the required performance. All these aspects will have to be taken into consideration. Okay, so the process of acquiring the expert knowledge has to be done very carefully, but then it becomes a complex task many a times. Okay, so to construct a good knowledge base, that is the most important thing. You can see here, I don't have my pen with me. You can see here in the third block, the knowledge base. Okay, so I mean, uh, construction of a knowledge base is very, very important. And to construct a good knowledge base, you need the knowledge acquisition process has to be effectively done. Okay, so many a times, what you do is a set of programs is being compiled to extract the expert knowledge effectively. Okay, so these programs is what is called your knowledge acquisition systems. Knowledge acquisition systems. Okay, so you cannot call them as fully automatic or anything. They're not automatic, but then they are, these knowledge acquisition systems will help you or assist you in building an effective knowledge base. Okay, so that is regarding the development of an expert system. Okay, so the knowledge engineer will establish a dialogue with the domain expert to elicit the knowledge, okay, and codes the knowledge explicitly into the knowledge base. And the expert evaluates the expert system and gives a critic to the knowledge engineer. Okay, right. So then, yeah, expert system is something which relies on inference, and you accept what is called a reasonable solution. Okay, so then an important aspect associated with your expert system is what is called your uncertainty. Okay, so uncertainty is something which exists in every aspect. So when you say uncertainty, it means the lack of exact knowledge. So that will help us to come to a proper conclusion. Okay, that is what I'm trying to tell you is the information that we have. It could be am I still? Sorry, did I lose my connection? Are you able? Can you hear me? Can someone respond, please? Yeah,
Now we can hear you.
yeah. I felt I lost my connection in between because I got a message. Lost in a connection. Okay. Okay, I'll disable the video for that. Right. This is unit 3. Okay, so we were discussing about uncertainty. Okay, so yeah, so I told there are two types of uncertainties. It could be the shallow knowledge, the empirical and the heuristic knowledge. Empirical means from observation. Then deep knowledge, that is having a complete understanding based on the basic structure, the function, and the behavior of objects. Okay, then again, uncertainty can arise when you have different opinions from different sources. Okay, but then in some cases, even the data values may be actually missing. Okay, because as all of you know, when it comes to expert system, to build concrete rules, the dependency on the domain expert is very much important, and that is something which adds up to the complication. Okay, so under uncertainty, what I mean to say is the outcomes that come from an expert system, it may not be 100% accurate. Uncertainties could be involved in it. Okay, so the expert system needs to have some sort of probabilistic approach for handling the uncertainty. Then, I mean, there are different types of expert system, and then a rule-based expert system is something which is very good at handling uncertain knowledge. Okay, then experts, I mean, I just mentioned about having a probabilistic approach for handling the uncertainty. I hope you remember the various probabilistic techniques what we had discussed in the fourth unit, I suppose. Do you remember? Bayesian networks and Damster-Schaffer theory, they're all good at handling your uncertainties. Okay, so next moving on to the early expert systems. Okay, the early expert system. So these are the different types of popular expert systems available. The first one is what is called your dendral expert system. Okay, so this is basically an chemical analysis expert system. Okay, so what happens here is some chemical substance, you have to analyze it. It could be I mean, that particular substance could be a complicated compound of talking in terms of chemistry, it could be a compound of, say, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, or whatever. Okay, so starting from the spectrographic data which is being obtained from the substance, the dendral will hypothesize what is the molecular structure of that particular substance. Okay, for example, if it is crossin, the crossin will contain paracetamol and so many other things. Okay, so when coming to the practical usage of your dendral, so dendral was actually designed to help the chemist from the task of they had to survey a large number of molecular structures. Okay, so to find the various components that corresponds to a particular substance. Okay, so I mean, this Dendral was able to do that at a high speed and with a good amount of accuracy. So it was a big relief for the chemist as far as the Dendral is concerned. So it is basically a chemical analysis expert system. So next we have what is called Mycin. So Mycin, anyway, in detail we'll be taking it up, because in this particular unit we have a topic called case study. In the case study we will be taking up Mycin. So Mycin is actually a medical diagnosis system. Okay, so we had discussed about forward chaining inferencing system and backward chaining system. This was actually a backward chaining expert system. So this was basically designed to find the bacteria causing the infections, like your bacteremia and meningitis. Okay, then again it's used for the recommendation of antibiotics, and also for the diagnosis of certain blood clotting sickness. Okay, so then you have what is called the dip meter. Dip meter. Okay, so this is basically an expert system to help the analysis of data what is being gathered during the oil exploration, geological data analysis for oil. Okay, then you have what is called the prospector. Prospector. So this was basically, I mean, a decision system which will help in the mineral exploration problems. Okay, so this will help the geologist in evaluating. Okay, so which exploration site is which is better than the other site, or some favorable site, site, or which is the region which has a higher probability of certain deposits. Okay, so once that particular favorable site has been identified, your prospector, even it can also be used for selecting which site needs to be drilled and other things. Okay, so in fact this is a expert system, AI based expert system, which helps in geological data analysis for minerals. Okay, then we have what is called your XCON/R1 for configuring your computer systems. Okay, so this is actually written in OPS5 language. Okay, so this is actually some system which will help you, or which will assist in ordering of the computer systems, ordering of the computer systems, or the components, you can say, by automatically selecting the computer system components based on the system's requirements. Okay, so it was initially used by Digital Equipment Corporation's VAX machines. So it was a success, your XCON system. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so we looked into the different types of expert system. So now coming to the classification of expert system. Based on this, we have what is called the configuration based expert system, the diagnosis based expert system like your Mycin, instruction based systems, interpretation based systems, prognosis, remedial based systems, control based expert systems. This is the broad classification. So now coming to the problems and the languages which are being used. Okay, so the classical AI languages are Lisp and Prolog. Algorithmic languages including C, Java, and C#. Okay, so then consider what are the various considerations for building an expert system. Okay, so if you have a small problem, then you need not go for an expert system. Say you have a mathematical problem to be solved. Okay, so in that case, you don't have to go for an expert system. On the other hand, a conventional programming is more than enough. Okay, then is the expert willing to cooperate? Okay, so can the expert be in a position to explain the knowledge to the knowledge engineer, so that he can elicit or extract the knowledge and put it into the knowledge base? Okay, so then is the problem solving knowledge mainly heuristic or uncertain? So all these are the facts which has to be taken into consideration when you're trying to build a expert system. Okay, so then coming to the languages, shells, and tools. Okay, so expert system languages are all post third generation language. Okay, so you have procedural languages, modern language, and then you have the expert system languages. So expert system language, you have CLIPS. So along with CLIPS, you have one more called OPS5. Okay, so they're all used for representing the knowledge. Okay, then that's regarding the language. Next, coming to shells. Okay, so I think the PPT slide for shell is missing. Okay, let me tell you what this shell is all about. Okay, so shell, you can say it's like a expert system without a knowledge base. Okay, so the shell will provide the expert system, it will provide the developers with all the other components, that is your knowledge acquisition, inference engine, user interface, explanation facility, all the various architectural components will be there minus the knowledge base. Okay, so yeah, I just mentioned about an explanation facility, that is expert system having knowledge acquisition system, inference engine, user interface, explanation facility. So explanation facility in the sense, suppose an expert system is suggesting a particular course to a student. Okay, so it should be able to explain why that course is beneficial to that particular student. Okay, so this particular shell, what I have highlighted here, you can call it as a sort of interpreter for building the expert system. Okay, so it will simplify actually the process of creating your knowledge base. Okay, so for example, I mean, you would have come across or heard about what is called a Java. It's called I'll put it here in brackets. I don't have the pen today with me. JESS. Okay. So oh, okay, JESS, that is Java Expert System Shell. Okay, so actually that provides Java APIs, fully developed Java APIs for creating your expert system. Okay, so I mean, that's regarding your shells. Shells for expert system, something which will help you or simplifies the process of creating your knowledge base. Okay, so rather than starting from the scratch, you can make use of a shell, and then I mean, your shell along with the knowledge base. The shell is nothing but the interpreter along with the knowledge base constitutes what is called your expert system. Okay, so these are the tools and technologies behind your expert system. Okay, so then coming to what is called the production rules. Okay, so did we learn about production rules anywhere in any other unit? Production rules. Did we learn about production rules anywhere? Can someone respond, please? I'll not ask you. At least you tell me whether you have learned or not. I can see somebody else in this class. I mean, all right. Fine, fine. Did we learn about production rules somewhere else? At least yes or a no. I feel very bad. I've taught you AI throughout the semester. Final, I mean, we are in the final unit, hardly 3 or 4 more classes to go, and I'm asking whether we have learned or discussed anywhere about production rules. Yes, at least somebody told yes. Okay, so to the rest of the class who says no, let me open the PPT. That's why I had simultaneously put this out here. This is the third unit PPT. See, in third unit, we had discussed about production rules, all these things. What the production rule is, if then rules, different types, then what is an antecedent, what is a consequent, what this working memory is all about, the production systems, then conflicts arising, which, I mean, regarding which rule to be triggered or fired. So wherein we apply some sort of conflict resolution strategies. Okay, so all these things we had already discussed once in the third unit. Okay, so as a part of expert systems, we have the same thing. The production, I mean, knowledge base, also called production memory. Production rules expressed in the form of if then pseudo format. Okay, so in a rule based system, the inference engine will determine which rule antecedents are satisfied by the facts. Okay, so now coming to the types of expert system. So we'll look at what is called your rule based system. Okay, So rule-based expert system. We have basically two important types of expert system. One is called the rule-based expert system, and another one is what is called the uh, frame-based. Yeah, frame-based expert system. Okay, so first coming to what is called a rule-based expert system. Okay, so rule-based expert system is something which consists of rules. That is, you have your if-then rules. Okay, if-then rules. Then it will have a set of facts. Then maybe your shell or the interpreter, which have all other architectural components. Okay, the rules. Okay, very simple rule I can tell you. If the number is divisible by 2, then it is even. Okay, so this is actually a very simple rule, but then the rules can be complex, where you can have multiple antecedents and multiple consequence, that is left hand side and the right hand side. Okay, then again your antecedents can be connected with your and or. That is in unit 3 we called it as conjunctions or disjunctions. Okay, that is I mean, for example, I'll give you, if the students are absent, or the students have not done the submission, then there will be no class. Okay, so the rules are the ones that constitutes your complete knowledge base. Okay, so I mean, so these rules, okay, so these systems, your rule-based expert system, it actually should be applied to smaller problems, because as the more the complex the system is, the more rules, I mean, more and more rules are used to describe. And so that will increase the difficulty of the model for all possible outcomes. Okay, so here another example is being given here. You can just go through it. An example from the medical world. Okay, so abdominal issues. The system would identify the diameter of it using the conditional argument. The input diameter will be stratified to recommend whether the immediate intervention was required, and if it is not serious, a follow-up is being required. So the problems related to radiological image of, pre-processing of the image must be required prior to the expert system being applied. Okay, so that's regarding what is a rule-based system. Okay, so now let's look into the architecture of the structure of the rule-based system. Structure of the rule-based system. You can see here the various components. So first you have what is called the knowledge base. Okay, so the knowledge base, what will the knowledge base have? It will have the domain knowledge, whatever is required for solving the problem. Okay, so I mean, as far as the rule-based expert system is concerned, so the knowledge will be represented in the form of rules. Okay, so when you say rules, each rule will specify a relation, or it could be a recommendation, or I mean some heuristic or whatever. So finally, whatever it is, it will be in the form of if. In bracket, you will have the condition and then the whatever action. So if then, okay, if condition then action, that will be the structure. Okay, so when the condition part of the rule is being satisfied, that particular rule will be fired and the action part will be executed. Okay, so then you can see here you have something called a working memory. Working memory, or in bracket it's being put as facts. Okay, so the problem specific information or the fact, so that will be stored in the working memory. Okay, some textbooks call it as short-term memory. Okay, or your so-called database. Okay, so that will have a set of facts, whatever is used to match against the if condition, if part of the rule, whatever is stored in your knowledge base. Okay, so then in the middle you have what is called the inference engine, inferencing engine. Okay, so the inference engine, so that is what it will do is it will carry out the reasoning. So where as a result of which your expert system will be reaching a particular solution. Okay, so this will try to link the rules given in the knowledge base with the facts provided in the database or your so-called working memory, something which will link your knowledge base and the working memory. Okay, so that's what your inferencing is. Then inferencing strategies and all we had discussed in the I think session we had 1 week back regarding the forward chaining and the backward chaining inferencing, and other things. Okay, so now again, I'm not going to repeat all those things. Maybe at later point of time, you can look into it. Okay, so then we have what is called the explanation facility. Okay, explanation facility. So the explanation facility will enable the user to ask the expert system how a particular conclusion is reached, and why a specific fact is required at that point of time. Okay, so the expert system must be able to explain its reasoning. Okay, so justify why it is giving that advice, or why it is giving that analysis, or why it is giving that particular conclusion. Okay, so a few minutes back I gave you an example for the explanation facility. For example, suppose the expert system is going to suggest a particular course to a student. So it should be able to explain why that course is good for that particular student. Okay, so that's regarding the explanation facility. Okay, then we have what is called the knowledge acquisition facility. Okay, so knowledge acquisition facility, I think in the beginning of the class we started with the slide called knowledge engineering and knowledge engineer, wherein we looked into the phases of this diagram. There I had explained about knowledge acquisition systems. See this one, knowledge engineering and knowledge acquisition. Okay, so this is so the same thing out here. Okay, so I told them that the expert system, the knowledge engineer will take the input from the domain expert, and again it all depends on the cooperation of the expert. And to have a good knowledge base, knowledge acquisition is very important, or efficient knowledge acquisition is very important. Okay, so when you say knowledge acquisition system, it's a set of programs which are being compiled to extract the expert knowledge effectively from the they are not automated system, and they are things which will help you in assisting in building the knowledge base. Okay, so that's regarding the knowledge acquisition facility. Then you have a UI or a user interface. Okay, user interface. Okay, so the user interface means like how the communication between the user who wants to get the solution and the expert system happens. So it happens across a user interface. Okay, you can see just like you have your GUI, graphical user interface. So here the user interface is all about the communication, how the communication happens between the customer or the user who wants to have the solution and the expert system. Okay, so basically what happens in rule-based expert system is it's just matching of the rules to come to a conclusion. Okay, so I think we have covered all the blocks, right? Yeah, fine. Agenda is the problem in hand. Okay, so then when it comes to rules, okay, when you have a lot of rules, when you have multiple rules, there can be cases of conflicts too. Okay, so conflicts can arise with regard to the selection of rules also. Okay, so one way to handle we had already discussed about the conflict resolution strategies and other things in the third unit. Okay, so conflict resolution and other things. So you can select the rule, resolve the conflict based on the one which is being least recently fired, or the recently used, or based on the specificity of rules. So some conflict resolution strategy can be applied. Okay, so that's regarding the structure of your rule-based expert system. Okay, so yeah, this is the same thing whatever I've just mentioned. Knowledge is encoded as if-then rules. Rules can also be written as production rules. Okay, I'll give you an example. Rules can be written as production rules. You can see here if-then rules and production rules. Okay, so you have here if-then rules. Okay, you have the left hand side and you have the right hand side. Okay, so left hand side you have the conditions. Conditions, or it is also called antecedents. Okay, so right hand side you have the it is basically the action or the consequence. Okay, so then it's something is mentioned here, production rules. Okay, so production rules means they are of the form A implies B. You can see here implies symbol, A implies B. Okay, so if then is replaced with the implication symbol. Okay, so it is actually a representation of your if then rules itself. Okay, so the knowledge base will be filled with your if then rules or the production rules. Okay, so that's regarding the your construction of your knowledge base. Okay, then yeah, that's what I just wanted to tell. Then the inference engine determines which rule antecedents has to be, which rule antecedents are satisfied. Okay, so next is sorry, I lost my connection. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so where did I stop? I think I kept on telling without realizing that I lost my connection. Uh, I was telling about this example, right? This example is over. Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, fine. Then coming to the inference engine cycle. Yeah, I think this is where we stopped. Okay. Uh, yeah, inference engine. So in inference engine, there are three things that is being done. Okay, in inferencing. So that is conflict resolution, then execution, that is action, and then matching. That is updating the agenda. Okay, so I'll yeah, we'll look into this diagram. Okay, so you can see here in the diagram the pattern matching inference engine doing three things. I told you one is conflict resolution, execution, and matching. Matching is all about pattern matching. So pattern matching can be done either with your REAT algorithm or Markov algorithm. We'll look into one of the algorithms. Okay, then right hand side, I think we had already discussed what the knowledge base is. Knowledge base consisting of facts and rules and the post production rules, all these aspects. Okay, so now yeah, inferencing engine doing three things. Okay, one is what is called a conflict resolution. So let's take an example for this. Okay, so yeah, one of the three functionality of your inferencing engine, conflict resolution, how your inferencing engine helps in this process. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I think we would have already taken this in the third unit. Let me tell that again because it's significant here. Okay, I hope all of you can see this. So I have a set of 5 rules. You can see here, I'm having 5 rules out here. These are the 5 rules. A implies B, B implies C and D, C implies E, D implies F, C and D implies G. Okay, so my goal state is F. It's not G, that I've marked it here in red color. So my goal state is F. Okay, so right hand side we have what is called our working memory, the one which I had shown in the structure, working memory. Okay, so first I fire the rule number 1. Okay, so initially I had only A, the variable A in my left hand side. So after the rule is being fired, after this particular rule is being fired, so then I will have both A and B in my working memory. Okay, so then I need to do a pattern matching. Okay, so what is this pattern match, or what is it that I need to do? I'm having A implies B. Okay, so the right hand side variable is B. Okay, so this variable has to be pattern matched with the left hand side of the rule. Okay, so now I find that I can see a B uh, in the left hand side in the second rule, that is rule number 2. Okay, so I trigger this particular rule. Okay, so I trigger this rule, that is rule number 2. So pattern matched, and I'm firing the rule. That's why first rule number 1 followed by rule number 2. Okay, so I mean, as a result of firing this C and D is being triggered, and then C and D enters into my working memory. Okay, C and D is entering into my working memory. Okay, then again when I do a pattern matching, I have C in rule 3, D in rule 4, and C and D in rule 5. Okay, so I can trigger either rule 3 or rule 4 or rule 5, since all these are there in my working memory. Okay, but only one rule can be triggered at a time. Okay, so now we have a conflict regarding which rule has to be triggered. Okay, so we have a number of conflict resolution strategies. So I am deciding to go for what is called a specificity rule. Okay, do you remember what the specificity rule is all about? Okay, so specificity of each rule. For example, for rule number 3 and 4, the specificity is 1. Whereas for rule number 5, the specificity is 2, because it's a combination of 2 rules, C and D. Okay, whereas these two are simple rules. These two are simple rules, and this fifth rule is a combination rule. Okay, you can say it's also called the longest matching strategy or whatever. Okay, so for this the specificity is 2. So I select the rule with the highest specificity. Okay, so the next rule what I'm triggering is rule number 5. So my rule number 5 is being triggered. Okay, so when I trigger rule number 5, G enters into my working memory. Okay, so now you look for G. Okay, so there is no G in the left hand side. Okay, then we had already looked at C, then we look at D. Okay, so then when you look at D, the pattern is matched for rule number 4. Okay, so now you trigger rule number 4. Okay, here there are no more conflicts. Okay, so you add F to your working memory. Okay, you add F to your working memory, and F happens to be my goal node. So I stop with this. Okay, so the sequence of triggering the rule, what it is 1, 2, 2 to 5, and 5 to 4 to reach the goal node F. Okay, so to do this, I maintained what is called a working memory also. Okay, so that's the example. Okay, so that's what I was just telling. So inference engine did what is called a pattern matching, then resolved the conflict, and then it was action execution. Okay, so and that's what I just wanted to tell you. Okay, so now let me take your attendance. Just a second. Okay, answer your attendance. Shruti,
Present, ma'am.
Ryan,
Present, ma'am.
Aditya. Aditya is not there. Okay, Aditya is absent. Sudha,
Present, ma'am.
Sanjay Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Deepanshu Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Vishal,
Present, ma'am.
Srinjay.
Ma'am.
Yeah. Seal. Vishal is there in class, right? Is Vishal there? 27. There was no response from Vishal. Okay. Mohammed Fasil was there. Nitish Venkatesh is also there. 38. Dilip.
Yes, ma'am.
Shruti Kaushik. 46.
Present, ma'am.
48. Nitin.
Yes, ma'am.
54.
Yes, ma'am.
55.
Present, ma'am.
58. What about Himanshu Kumar? 58. No response. 60. Atul. Atul, no response. Okay, Himanshu is present. Noted Himanshu. What about Atul? Atul, no response. Niharika? Atul is there. Okay, Atul. Okay, you made me deaf. Niharika? Okay, noted. 66. Srinidhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Noted. Sai Hemant? Sai Hemant, no response. 92. Okay, 94.
Present, ma'am.
92 is present. Okay, at least text in the chat window immediately so that. Okay, 94 is present. 103. Darshini. Okay, noted Darshini. 106. Fatima. 111. Sai Satish. Sai Satish, no response.